Good morning, TMS3725 students. Today I want us to discuss planning a lesson. How do we plan a lesson before we go to class? A lesson plan is very important in the teaching and learning, as the teacher cannot go to class without having a lesson plan, having an instrument that can guide you as to what is going to happen in class, what is going to take place in class, what the teacher is going to do in class, and then what the learners will be doing in class, what activities will be taking place during the lesson, and what learning objectives will the teacher maybe intend to achieve. Right, the presentation outline, the introduction, general thoughts on lesson planning, some thoughts that must go into the lesson plan, mistakes in lesson planning, important points to remember, plan a problem-based lesson. This one is going to be presented in another lesson. So I'm going to present this lesson until 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the 5th point. Right, let's go to our introduction. Right. One of the major challenges that we face as teachers is translating theoretical construct into action in the classroom. Because as teachers, we start with the theory, and then after learning theory, then we have to change that theory into action. How am I going to apply my theory in the classroom? That's very much important. What you learn now in the classroom is what you have to apply when you go out to teach. The mathematics that you are learning now is the mathematics that you are going to teach in the classroom. How are you going to teach it? That's what you have to learn. Your own understanding of the model, and more important, your confidence and conviction in using it. The most important thing is to have confidence in what you are doing. And for you to have confidence in what you are doing is to have a good content knowledge of the subject, so that you can know how you can transfer that knowledge to the next person. So this is very important because if you don't have confidence in what you are doing, learners also lose confidence in what you are doing. They will not pay attention. Actually, it will be every person. If we find a presenter not well prepared and doesn't have confidence in what he or she is trying to share, then the audience will lose concentration. You are going to lose audience. So you need to have confidence in everything that you'll be doing. You'll make sure that you plan your lessons thoroughly, and you familiarize yourself with the content knowledge of the subject, so that you can have confidence of the in that subject. Right. This lesson will focus on planning a problem-based classroom to give you confidence and competence to pursue this approach with your learners. This is what I just said, that in preparing a problem-based lesson, it will be presented in the next lesson. As we present 35 minutes lessons, we don't want to give you a very long lesson. Right. Anyone who is involved in the teaching and learning situation, you will find it difficult to teach learners without a good lesson plan. Remember, we are teaching human beings, we are teaching learners, we are teaching people who are not empty vessels, learners who know something. So we need to be prepared so that we avoid the challenges that we may face, that may arise during the lesson. Because learners know something, learners do have knowledge about the concept or about the content, about the topic, they may come up with questions that you may not be able to respond to if you are not well prepared. And once they realize that you are not prepared, is then you are going to lose them, or they're going to lose trust in you as a teacher. So we need to be prepared, to be well prepared, so that when we go to class, then we'll be able to deliver the content that we are planned for. A 3-part lesson format. We have the before the lesson, we have during the lesson, and after the lesson. This provides a basic structure of a lesson plan. Right. The framework resulted from the need for learners to be engaged in problems and participate in discussion and reflection. We are going to discuss this in details in the next lesson, especially with the issue of problem-based lesson. Right. When you plan a lesson as a teacher, you must make a provision for your role as a teacher, which should be that of a guide or a facilitator, not an authority. You don't have to go and badge. You don't have to go and just tell the learners everything about the content. Learners should have their own role as well. In preparing a lesson, you will know what will be your role as a teacher, and then what will be learners' roles. So that will be very much important, because the lesson is an instrument that is going to help you, is going to guide you throughout the lesson. And then you will be able to choose the tasks, will be able to choose the problems that you will use during the lesson. That will guide the discussion, but you do not have to offer the solutions. You need to guide them in order for them to find the solutions, not to give them solutions. That would be very much important. So teaching is a practical activity, but challenging. It demands reflection and insights. So as a teacher, every lesson that is presented, you need to do a reflection. What did I do? What I did not do? What objectives did I achieve, and what objectives didn't I achieve? If not achieved, why? Those are the things that you should consider when you are presenting a lesson that you have planned before. It assists you to do a reflection. Right. You need to have an inquiring mind and ask why certain activities are performed in a particular way, especially in mathematics. You need to be well prepared, especially with content. Why this approach, not this approach. So teaching mathematics, we have to go and teach mathematics for conceptual understanding, not for procedural understanding. But you need to use them both, the conceptual and procedural, because they are working together. Think and do should be the keywords in your approach. I just earlier indicated that a lesson plan is a structure that helps you to envisage the learning for the teacher and the learners. I indicated earlier that you need to know your role, and then you need to know learners' roles. And then you need to know the objectives, and then you need to know the activities, the problems that you are going to give learners to engage them during the lesson, and knowing how are you going to engage those learners. Right. Research shows that all learners benefit from, appreciate well-structured lessons. I've indicated that if you are not well prepared, the learners will quickly pick it up that the teacher is is not prepared, because we'll be going back and forth, starting from the end or in the middle, going back to the beginning and stuff like that. So we need to be very careful, especially when we go to class. We need to be sure that the lesson is well prepared with all the activities and the problems, with all the learning objectives put in place. Right. Furthermore, lesson planning enables you as a teacher to establish specific goals. You will know the goals that you want to achieve. And then you will know the concepts that are essential, the skills and the processes that should be included in your lesson plan or in your lesson. Teach the work in a logical sequence and within a feasible period of time. That's very much important, because the lesson that you plan will tell you how long will it take. So if it's 45 minutes, you will know that I'm planning a lesson for 45 minutes. If it's 60 minutes, you will know that I'm planning a lesson for a 60-minute period. Right, it should be appropriately structured so that the opening will be interesting. The body will be properly paced, and the closure will highlight the key points. So that's what I was saying, that if the lesson is not well structured, not well planned, then you will not know. You are going to mix the beginning and the middle and the end, instead of starting from the beginning, going to the main body and then the conclusion. And then make sure that learners are on task throughout the lesson. Remember, in maths, if learners are not on task, it will be difficult for some of the learners to understand the concept. So they must be hands-on. Once they are hands-on, then they'll be able to understand what is taking place, what is happening about the topic. But if they are not hands-on, just passively listening to the teacher, then you will only find out that few learners maybe have understood the topic and most of the learners did not understand. So avoid omissions, mistakes, and unnecessary repetitions, while ensuring necessary reinforcement and consolidation during the review and practice. So this will help you, as I indicated, that when you present a lesson, every now and then, give yourself time to do a reflection so that you can check the mistakes that maybe you have done, so that you can be able to avoid them in the next lessons. Then you have to develop a feeling of confidence and security. So this is what I'm emphasizing. I've emphasized this from the beginning. And you cannot have confidence if you don't have the content of the subject. So you need to familiarize yourself with the content of the subject so that you will be able to prepare yourself as to how this content will be delivered in the classroom. Right. In planning a lesson, the teacher should determine the specific instructional objectives of the lesson. You need to know the instructional objectives of the lesson. You must know the target audience, know the grade, the expected behavior to be observed at the end of the lesson. What is it that you want to observe at the end of the lesson? The conditions under which such behavior is to be demonstrated and the degree of performance of such behavior. Task analysis. You need to do task analysis along with the identification and subsequent sequencing of sub-skills in the instructional objectives. This helps you to identify the appropriate instructional sequence and select appropriate practice activities. So if your lesson is well planned, then you will be able to identify the sub-skills, and you will be able to sequence them, and you'll be able to identify the appropriate instructional sequence and select appropriate practice activities. And you'll be able to identify the materials and the resources that you will require during the lesson. Then you'll be able to determine the teaching strategies and time allocation for each part of the lesson. How many minutes you will take for a particular task, and then how many minutes learners should take for a particular task. Then decide how students will be organized, how your learners will be organized in groups or in a normal way. It depends as to what is it that you want to do, what is it that you want to achieve in your lesson. And then decide how your lesson will be evaluated. You don't have to read a lesson plan in class. A lesson plan just helps you to structure and ensure the smooth flow of it, especially when something has occurred which distracts everyone, even the teacher. Right, some thoughts that should go into a lesson plan. Right, lesson plan involves thought processes. That process can be classified into 4 parts, where the teachers determine the curriculum. That is what learners will learn, and then what they will be able to do at the end of the lesson. What the learners already know before the start of the lesson, as that can serve as a lead-in to a new topic, which is the plan knowledge. And then at least one way of assisting the learners in learning the new topic. How am I going to introduce the new topic? At least one way of evaluating the lesson outcomes. How am I going to evaluate my lesson outcomes? So these are the 4 key issues that we need to bear in mind when we prepare a lesson. Right, mistakes in lesson planning. The following are common mistakes in lesson planning. Right, the objectives of the lesson or the outcomes does not specify what learners will actually do. That can be observed. So I've indicated in the beginning of the presentation that we need to know your role and the learner's roles. So if you don't specify that in the lesson plan, it's one of the mistakes that we do as teachers if we don't check or revise our lesson plan before we go to class. The lesson objectives is disconnected from the behavior indicated in the objectives. So meaning that you must be consistent throughout. You must focus on the objectives, the activities, the tasks, the problems that you give to the learners. They must assist you to attain the learning objectives. So never deviate from the learning objectives. Make sure that you focus on your lesson objectives. And the materials specified in the lesson are extraneous to the actual described learning activities. 4, the instruction in which the teacher engages is not sufficient for the level intended for learning. So that is why in the previous slide, we talked about the target audience. So the instruction in which the teacher engages should be sufficient for the level intended for learning. So you shouldn't be above, it shouldn't be below. It should be exactly at the level of the learner's cognitive skills or cognitive learning. Right. The learner's activities as described in the lesson plan, do not contribute to a direct and effective way towards meeting the lesson objectives. Remember, the activities, as I indicated, they must always be aligned to the lesson plan. They must always help you to attain the lesson objectives or the lesson outcomes. So if the lesson activities are not aligned to the lesson objectives, it means you are not going to achieve the goals that you want to achieve at the end of the lesson. Right, checklist for your lesson plan. Check it on page 58. The lesson outcome and the assessment standards. Objectives should be realistic and measurable. And then 2, prerequisite identified through the task analysis. This can be identified through task analysis. Sorry. And then in introduction, assess learners' prerequisites or use motivational materials to set the stage for learning. Component to check include exact examples and non-examples. So if you don't start with what learners know, then the possibility is that you are going to leave some of the learners behind. So always start with what learners know and then go to what learners don't know. Meaning you start from known to unknown. You don't have to start with the unknown. You start with the known, then you move to the unknown. Right, development of the lesson. Determine at least one way of assisting the learners in learning the new topic. How are you going to introduce a new concept to the learners? Include question prompts to lead and guide the learners. This is going to assist you. Right, consolidation, teacher modeling, guided practice, independent. Teacher modeling, guided practice, independent practice. This will include sample of expected learners' responses and responses that may arise out of misconceptions. Because as a teacher or maths teacher, you need to know learners' misconceptions so that you will know how are you going to address those misconceptions. You need to know what types of errors do learners commit so that you can know how are you going to address them. Right, in the conclusion, you have to have the summary of the lesson. Set homework that aligned with the lesson outcomes. Possibly assign follow-up activity to set the stage for the next lesson. So you can see that this assists you to set the stage for the next lesson. Right, important points to remember. What is it that you have to remember when you plan a lesson? Right, lesson plans can include much more than that what is discussed here. You might need other types of resources. Remember, when we present lessons, we are not going to cover, we are summarizing. We are not covering everything. You need to go and read and then get some more information. That's what you should do. It's even when you teach quadratic equations, when you teach cyclic quadrilaterals, you are not teaching theorems and all the stuff, but learners are given a chance to explore. So even now with you need to give yourself time to explore so that you can be able to get different types of resources that you can use to teach those topics. Use the information provided here as a quick yet effective way of developing a lesson plan. So once you follow the structure that is provided, then you'll be able to learn more as to how do we plan a lesson to teach mathematics effectively in the classroom. You must complete the thinking and the mental structuring parts of the lesson plan before you start writing up your lesson plan. Write out the exact examples you will need for the lessons. And this will give you a quick reference if you lose your place. That's very much important, because if maybe you miss something, then you can refer to your lesson plan. Right, your train of thoughts is interrupted. If it's interrupted, yes, you will need to go and refer in your lesson plan. Poorly selected examples can be confusing for learners and can lead to misconceptions. So that's very important. We need to, with mathematics, we start from simple to complex. So if you mix them, then you're going to lose most of the learners in your teaching. Right, in the end, you have to conduct a lesson. If you have carefully thought through the lesson and know what your goal is, your chances of success will be much greater. So this is very important. That is why I'm saying, before you go to class, you need to reflect. You need not to reflect. You need to review or revise your lesson plan, so that when you go to class, you are sure that this is the goal that I want to achieve in the classroom. This is the goal that I want to achieve with the learners. And then these are the activities. These activities are relevant. These activities are aligned with the lesson objectives. And these activities that I have planned will take exactly 50 minutes for me. These types of activities will take learners 50 minutes to complete. So those are the things that you need to revise before you go to class. You look at the introduction. Is this prior knowledge directly related to the content that I want to introduce during the lesson? So, or the topic. Those are the things that are very much important. Otherwise, you'll find yourself being disrupted, the lesson being always being disrupted, because you'll be missing some of the points. You will not be consistent in your lesson presentation. So this also gives you a confidence in your lesson presentation that I'm on the right track, and I'm achieving what I'm supposed to achieve, what I intended to achieve during the lesson. And at the end, you'll find that there is a lot of participation in the classroom, because learners are able to follow. You are able to bring your learners on board. You are able to interact with your learners, because they understand what you are presenting or you are teaching, because you started from what they know and be able to make a transition to what they don't know, meaning that you are able to move with them at the same pace to the end of the lesson. And then even the classroom activities or the homework that you said, they're going to assist you as well to set a stage for the next lesson. This is very, very much important. We need to bear in mind that every time when you go to class, a lesson plan is in place. And every time when you go, after going to class, you sit down and do a reflection, identify the gaps, the potential gaps, and then have a plan as to how you intend to close them in the next lesson. And thank you very much. This is the end of the lesson. In the next lesson, we'll be discussing a problem-based lesson. Thank you, and have a good day.